Light Forex trading community, welcome back. I'm Roy Kuzin with yet another session. Today, a kind of a special session. We're going to have the market watch list session where I'm going to pick one particular trading opportunity, which is one of my top favorite. It's going to be the euro versus the Japanese yen. You've probably guessed it by the look of the picture here. So it's going to be really interesting. Stick around. Let's go ahead and dive in. Alright guys, so whenever I approach a trading opportunity, I always start from the big picture, right? Because I want to find in the big picture, which is usually for me as a swing / position trader, the big picture always starts from either the monthly chart or the weekly chart. In this case, we have a very strong and sound technical picture coming from the weekly chart, which I like very much. I really like the situation where I have a strong setup coming from the weekly. That's pretty much my basic, my basic setup that determines not only the direction, but also determine the main price targets along the way, and also, of course, the last time of resort, which if price goes beyond it, I'm going to basically close my position regardless of whether it hit the stop loss level or not, right? And but it doesn't end there. It's not enough to have that basic setup, which is a very important thing to have. But I also require a second setup, basically a secondary setup that's come from the local price section. For me, the local price section is the daily chart. That's my execution chart. So I would like to have a secondary setup that I'm going to use as a triggering system, right? I have the the basic setup, right? The basic condition telling me I should go long or I should go short with the price targets and with the stop loss levels, sort of the last line of resort, like I said. But I want, at this point, once I have that ready, I also want to have the trigger, right? The triggering system with which I can fine-tune the actual entry, right? And make it as good as possible. Whenever I have these two setups ready, I'm just waiting to pull the trigger. That's it. I'm waiting for the market to make its move and pull the trigger. Now, I have to say this before we move on. A lot of times, I like to get in prematurely. I mean, I have my triggering system. I know the key level that it is the actual trigger, and which, if price breaks, I'm going all in, basically, with full force. But sometimes I kind of jump the gun, right? I think that I feel that it's gonna break. It's gonna trigger that system that I've put in. But I like to start a little bit before, and I also like to do it very, very small, kind of to test the water. So if I'm wrong, I'm able to pull out with very minimal damage. This is exactly the case with the euro versus Japanese yen here, because the big picture is very, very sound. I would like to present to you the bigger picture. What you're looking at here is actually a pretty impressive trading range. It started around the middle of 2018, I would say probably around May 2018, when price began to trade sideways. It came from above. I mean, the euro yen was peaking around the levels of 137.50 and then began to reverse. However, at some point, roughly around May 2018, it actually turned sideways. From a downside move, it turned sideways, and it did that in a very nice fashion. Take a look. We had the first leg up, second leg down, third leg up, and the fourth leg, which is pretty unusual, to say the least. I mean, it was remarkable, actually. And whenever I have this type of behavior, I just have a lot of confidence in the next move, because this is really the stuff that I'm looking for. So obviously, I'm referring to this really unusual spike, right? And you can actually see how it went all the way back and closed above 122.88. That's the bottom key level. Very, very powerful support. the fact that it reacted so profoundly to that key level, right? Just think about it. At most part of that week, price was trading well below that key level. We're talking about 118.75 at the lowest low on that week, which was the last week of 2018, basically. And it went back and closed right back in. So that was a huge indication, right? Really, I'm talking about 95%, stuff like 90 to 95%. This is a real gift, basically. When price went all the way back, I immediately knew that I have a powerful setup here, and an upside reversal is imminent. Now let's talk about the potential, right? Because I said I have the basic setup that gives me, the conditions to get in, right? It gives me the full picture when it comes to the direction and the price target that we're looking at, right? But it also, like I said, it gives me the last line of resort. In this case, the last line of resort would have to be 122.88, which is why you see that my stop loss level is right below. This is a real stop loss level, by the way. This is a real position that I have, right? I actually started with the first portion, right? This the first portion in what hopefully would become a decent size position. It all depends on price. If it will go my way, I will begin to increase the position gradually, right? With the direction, with the momentum. So you see this bottom key level here, 122.88. This is going to be my last line of resort. The direction is up, right? And we have two price targets. The first one, which is a secondary price target for partial execution, I should say, is right here, the mid-low key level, 126.36. The next one, which is the primary price target, it's also our final destination and a pretty ambitious type of price target, is at 130.24. So we're talking about 500 pip of potential move, and I would define this opportunity as a short to medium term type of trading opportunity, right? This could be done as soon as 2 weeks time, but it could also take longer, probably up to 5-6 weeks tops. It's hard to predict these things, but as you can see, if you're judging the previous legs, you can see some of them were done in 4 weeks, some of them 5 weeks, 6 weeks maybe, but it could also be in 2 weeks time. So I'm preparing myself for kind of a long journey, right? 500 pip. Obviously, the 126.36 here is going to be important, but eventually I'm going to try to come to gather full force all the way to 130.24. If we can do that, we can actually make a killing here on the Euro versus Japanese yen. So this is the big picture, right? I have that ready, set. Now I'm taking you to the triggering system. Now this position, this trading opportunity, did not get triggered yet. It wasn't triggered yet, right? This is why I said I jumped the gun a little bit. I already opened, established a bullish position, but I started very, very small. Once I get that position officially triggered, it would become from pending status to on. That's where I'll begin to increase the position significantly. So you see, basically, let me show you again. This is the move that I'm expecting, right? Just the continuation of this upside reversal. Obviously, we have a visible turnaround after a really impressive touchdown here on that bottom key level. Now, let me take you to the daily chart. This is where you can see, even from here, you can actually see my triggering system, right? I'm talking about that blue system here, that blue setup. Now, let me take you right down to the daily chart. This is where the action is taking place, and it's actually quite interesting, because right now, if you take a closer look, and let me close up a little bit, price was actually trading in a lowercase, that's what I call a lowercase trading range. right? We saw the big trading range, right? We saw that sideways movement that began at May 2018, but here we're talking about just the last month, right? Last probably 3-4 weeks time. This is a daily chart. So price entered a lower scale trading range. It was actually stemming from the 4-hour chart. Let's take a look at that. Here is the actual trading range. Take a look. This was the first leg, second, third, fourth, all the way down, fifth. And I think, if I read these correctly, I might be wrong on the count here. I think we're looking at the sixth leg, which should be the last one, right? Should be the one to break out of that blue system. Especially, we're talking about the top key level, 125.40, which, by the way, and this is very important, that is my official trigger. That is my official trigger level, 125.40, right? So I was supposed to wait, basically, if I was to do this, the right way, so to speak. If I was risk averse, which I'm not, actually, I'm a bit of a risk taker, actually, when it comes to the market. But if I was risk averse, I would have to wait for this, for the trigger to be officially triggered. But you can see that price is actually right before the breakout. This is what I call the make or break situation, right? It's either going to make it or it's going to break down, right? It's going to make it break above 125.40 and ignite the move that I expect from the medium term perspective, or it's going to break. Now, if it's going to break, I'm not necessarily going to pull out, because what I think is most likely to happen is just another downside leg. And as you can see, it's a tight range, right? It's not going to be a long drop. It's not going to be a significant drop. We're talking about a slight downside move for another downside leg, and then possibly the next round would be the one to break forward. That's obviously if I got the count wrong. If we're not on the sixth leg and we're actually on the fourth leg, which is possible. So I plan to stick with this position, even if price will not break 125.40, and that's why I have such a small position in place, so I can actually take it, right? Since it's just the very first portion, I can actually take a downside leg, another one, and still be in this position without being causing damage to my account. Now, let me show you why I decided. I mean, obviously I have the count here. I think we're looking at the sixth last leg going forward should be the one to break through, but there was also another element that convinced me that it's probably safe enough to pull the trigger a little bit prematurely. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to have to go to zoom in here. So usually when price is traveling around the higher section, right, it begins to turn around and generate the downside leg, another downside leg, right, according to a typical sideways movement. However, in this case, take a look what happened here. When price was trying to do that, it actually went in a strong upside day, one day, single day move straight to the higher section. I'm talking about this. Then take a look what happened here the following day. Price was starting on the downside. It was actually trying to break below 124.78, which is the mid-high key level, right? And it failed. It left just a tiny spike here. Take a look. But it tried again, right? It tried again the following day. It began on the downside. It traded slightly below that key level at some point, but it bounced back and closed the second day above. Now, this for me is a very interesting element. The fact that price was unable to break below 124.78 when it should have been, right, suggests that this level is actually going to hold. So, I mean, price went yesterday straight to touch base on that 125.40, so we had the first attempt to break, right? That's my trigger level. It was challenged, let's say, yesterday. But I think it was just the first kind of attempt, and there's going to be more, probably today even. This might be another attempt, might be even successful, we'll see. But basically what I'm trying to say here is that price is very well trapped between 124.78 from below, 125.40 closing in on price. It's going to explode to one direction or the other. Hopefully it's going to break upwards, right? Hopefully, I think it's more likely that it will do so. So here's the plan, here's the game plan, right? And this is real stuff. This is, you know, I always like to share real-time trading positions that I already involved or that I plan to get involved with. And this is no different. So I already pulled the trigger here, but as you can see, price is very, very close to my entry level. I have a little bit of a profit here, nothing to write home about, seriously. Only once we break above 125.40 and I'll begin to reinforce this position, only then I'll begin to become really significantly profitable. You know, but until that point, we're still, you know, in a no man's land, so to speak, in the danger zone. Now, I would like to see price break above 125.40 and hopefully give us a weekly confirmation with a weekly close, right? That's going to be very important. That's going to be huge. Later on, once we get that 126.35, I plan to step out partially, right? I'm going to probably take out 50% of the position and wait to see the reaction here. If price will continue, break above 126.35, I will go right back into increasing the position basically all the way through, right? 130.24. Stop loss level at this point is 122. It's deep, it's far, I know that. It's just the initial placement. I definitely plan to get, you know, to adjust the stop loss level the minute price can prove that it's breaking out of that blue system and out of that resistance at 125.40. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that session. Hopefully we can make some really nice, really good profit on this trading opportunity for euro versus the Japanese yen. I plan to come back to this one possibly somewhere you know, in the foreseeable future to follow up and see how things went. It should be fascinating to see how things will unfold here. In the meantime, guys, I'll say goodbye. I wish you a great trading day. Until next time, be well.